We'll make a slip knot by wrapping it this way, then yarn over and pull through. That is a slip knot. So we'll make up to 28 chains. Yarn over, pull through, just as I have been teaching all along. You make your 28 chains as the base. That's how wide I want my bag to be. If you want yours to be much longer, you measure it against the exact length you want it to be, and you keep making chains up to that particular size. This is okay for me, and this is as much as my wool can make. After the 28 chains, you make an extra one, and then we'll start working back from the second one. You skip that one and move to the next one. Then we'll make a single crochet. You remember how to make a single crochet, right? So you just do that till the end of this row. For this base, we'll be using a single crochet because, as I mentioned at the beginning of class, single crochets are actually tough and harder than most of the stitch styles. So it will give the base of our bag a strong foundation. At the end of you make one chain, and when you are done with that row, you start making the single crochets for the second row. Mind you, we'll be repeating these for at 8 times. This is the second row, so we'll keep doing this single crochet until we get to the 8th row. Just make sure that while you are working, your hook is not picking up the loop too tight, and it's also not too loose. If it's too tight, it will have for you to work in it, and if it's too loose, you'll notice that the base of your bag will slack easily over time, and you don't want that to happen to the base of the bag you are making. Just a quick note that whenever you are working, it is always from the second, not the first one, from the second, to maintain a straight line, from the second loop from your hook. Yes, that is always the place you are working on whenever you want to start a new row. Okay, I'm done with mine, and I made 9 rows. You can see, if you bring it closer, you will see about 1, 2, this 2, 3, 4. That is 4.5 ridges. 2 rows make a ridge. Now I'll chain 1 and insert into this space here in my work, and then pin up a little, make up a single crochet there. That's 1. I'm trying to walk around the base to close up every edge, so it will be easy for me to continue the bag. So now I'll go to this top here, this loop that came here, and make the second one. So I've made 2 single crochets for the first ridge. Since it's 2 rows, I'll go to the next ridge and insert my hook. I'll be making 2 single crochets into each ridge because there are 2 rows in each ridge. So this is my first single crochet. I'll pull up a loop and make a single crochet. Then I'll go to the top to make the second one for that ridge. I'll move to the next one, to the loop down in between, So you zoom, you force it there. If it's tight, you force it in. If it's easy to pass through, good for you. But it's those two loops you are passing through and are making a single crochet. Then you move to the loop up. Yes, this loop, this space here. You insert your hook there and you make a single crochet there. That's what you keep doing. So we should have that 6 single crochets. You move to the next one. You keep doing that till you get to the end. You insert in the hole that has 2 loops. Make a single crochet. Then you move to the one that has just 1 loop and you make the second single crochet. You move to the next switch and you repeat that. Okay, now moving into the last one, I'll insert my hook at the beginning and make a single crochet. Now, since this is the base, I want it to be flat, I'm going to be making 2 more single crochets into this particular corner. If I don't, it will be bending inward, but I want it to remain flat because it is the base of the bag. So I'll be making 3 single crochet into that particular same spot. Then I'll move on to making single crochets along every other loop on this row. Now I've gotten to the end of this row, so we are going to make 3 double crochets, 3 single crochet, 3 single crochet into the same loop because this is the end and we want our base to be flat, not curving. And now the 3rd single crochet, and that concludes that end. So we'll move upwards and insert the hook into this demarcating point between 2 ridges to make the first single crochet. You observe very well that this is on the line. Now you repeat exactly what was done on the other end of this base. Now at this point, you go to the next loop and you make the final single crochet into that top. It's actually going to be a bit tight. Then you make this single crochet and then chain 1. For the body of the bag, we'll be chaining 2. That's because we'll be making double crochets for the body. It's faster, it's longer, and I want to just show you guys how to do it. Now to move on to the body, we'll be working into the back loop. That is the back loop. You pull up a loop for your double crochet, you yarn over, pull through 2. Then pull through the last 2. In case you didn't get it, I'll do it again. Insert into the back loop. Forgive my poor camera quality. Insert into the back loop and then you pull up a loop, pull through 2, then pull through 2 again. Are you seeing the back loops I'm working on? This is just so that the body will curve quickly, like curve neatly. That is what I'm looking for, curve neatly. If it is if you pick up the two, you notice it to form like a bow, like it will be like a bowl of plates. It is not that neat. But if you work on the back loops only, the body of the bag will have a sharp end, a sharp edge. Yes, that's why I'm doing this. So you pick up, pull through two, and pull through two again. That's what you keep doing to the end of this row. So we'll be making the double crochet for the body. No extra information on that. Oh, there's an extra information though. When you walk through the edge and you get back to this point, just wait for me there and I'll show you how to avoid having excess gaps. Now at this point, you will insert the hook into the second chain at the top. When you insert the hook there, you make a slip stitch. If you don't know what a slip stitch is, go back to the introduction to crochet to see the video I posted there. Now, to avoid having gaps, you go into this next chain and you make a slip stitch there. Then you make 2 chains and start working your double crochet normally. So you just yarn over, insert into the next chain, this chain here, and you continue working. You will notice that if you don't do this simple slip stitch I just showed you, if you just keep on working your double crochet to the end, you will just notice that point where you keep meeting, where you keep closing each row, you will just notice that there's an excess gap there, and you'll be wondering what happened. Did you skip anything? But you didn't skip. And if you try to fill up that gap, your bag will get wider and it will be uneven. I'm halfway done with the bag, and you will notice that your starting point is now looking like a slanted line. It's moving inward into the bag. But just keep working at that. You make your slip stitch. Do not forget this. You make your slip stitch. See, I don't have any gaps in mine compared to yours if you do not do this. Make 2 chains, yarn over, and make your double crochet round and round until you get to the height that you want your bag to be. Remember, at the end of each row, when you make your double crochet into this last chain, don't go ahead to make it into the chain at the bottom of the starting double crochet. This is the last chain. Don't go ahead into making it to the next one. You just double crochet, you just slip stitch from here. Don't make here. Just go to the top and make a slip stitch. Take note to avoid expanding your bag. At the end of the bag, you will make slip stitch all around by inserting into the back loop only, so it will not loosen over time. So on the back loop only, that means that is where you'll be making the slip stitch on the top. So you'll be having this love-like pattern going around at the top of the bag. Another way to do this is to insert the hook in between the 2 loops as though you are working a crochet. You will notice that the slip stitch will not be on the front. The slip stitches will be forming on the front compared to the top as with the way we started earlier. Now this is going to be by the side on the front, while the other one was at the top. But we're not using this method. I prefer the original method. So you just choose which one works best for you. That is crochet for a reason. It's for you to be creative. It's not a set, you don't have to follow a set pattern to do whatever you want to do. At the end of this row, you slip stitch into that last loop, and then you make sure you keep working that until you get to the very last of it. You can see the very first one you started with there. Okay, so at this point we are done with our bag. We are going to just cut the yarn here. Make a slip knot and then 111 chains. That is the length of the handle I want my bag to be. As I said, you can make it yours longer and make it shorter. Crochet is all about you being creative. It's not written that you have to go by a set number of patterns or loops and all that. No, it's you doing you. From the second chain in back, we'll make our slip stitch to the very end. So you pull up a loop and then you pull through again the one on the hook, not a single crochet. No, you do it again over and over again. There are different styles to making a handle. I just chose this one. We still have many more tutorials to handle. Now, at the end of this row, we are going to work our slip stitch again back to the front, but this time is at the front loop, not at the back loop. We're working at the front loop of our handle. I don't want it to be flat. I want the bag handle to be circular. So that is why I'm doing it front. You'll notice if you do it on the back loop, you'll notice it's going in a particular straight direction. This is to make it thicker and rounder. At the end, you chain one, cut the yarn, and then hide in the excess end. From the third chain from the hook, we'll make the double crochets. The double crochet is tall and needs 2 chains to begin as height. So we'll make it from the third chain, and you are using a double crochet because it's flexible. If you use a single crochet for your bow tie, it's going to be rigid. Your bow tie is meant to be flexible. Although even the type of material you use is also considered here. If you're using a tough material, you will surely need to use a double crochet. But if you're using a light material like the yeye wool in Nigeria, then you can use your single crochets for making the bow tie. When you are done with this, you make 6 single crochets. This will be our first joint. Single crochet, you don't yarn over. You insert into the next loop, pull up a loop, and then you pull through. That's it. So you do this 6 times, and you make sure to indicate the end of each point with your stitch marker, a safety pin, or whatever material you have available to you, so you would not mix up your lines when you continue. Now you make 21 double crochet for the first wing. If you're familiar with a bow tie, the upper part that looks like a butterfly, that is it. I'm referring to that as our wings. We have made the tail. We are on the first wing, so this part it needs to be long so it can fold properly and give it that puffed up shape. Now we'll make 6 single crochets again for the midpoint of where we'll be joining our bow tie at the end. Yes, we are making 12 double crochets with 2 chains despite ending the last one with 13 double crochet. And the reason is this: we are making our first 2 chains as a double crochet, then we'll move to the next, not this one, we'll move to the next chain, the next loop, and make a double crochet there. So that first 2 chains have already served as a double crochet. It's a very common technique. Instead of doing double crochet, just do 2 chains to serve as 1 double crochet. Then you go ahead and make your double crochets in the rest. And that's what we'll keep doing till we get to the particular thickness we want for our bow tie. So whenever you start each row, you start with 2 double crochets and then you make 12 double crochet. But when you get to the other end, you'll make 13 double crochet. I hope that is understood. If you don't understand, you can just be watching the video and follow along step by step. You repeat watching it over and over again until it makes sense to you. Okay, while still on this row, we'll be making single crochets on single crochet as we're seeing now in the video, double crochet on double crochet, and make sure that you are using the stitch markers to indicate the start or the end of each point, so it will be easy for you to maintain a consistent line of pattern. So single crochet, six single crochet on our 6 single crochets. At the end, you will move on to the double crochet. Wherever you made 20, you repeat 20. Wherever you made 6, you repeat that pattern on the original pattern. At this very end, we'll insert our hook into the last chain there. Yours may be as tight as mine is now, but you still have to create that chain, else you'll be having one less double crochet and it's not going to be perfect. I just like my work to be perfect. If you don't mind your work being perfect, you can move on to the next row, but I prefer mine to have it. That's why I work with numbers. That's one beautiful thing in crochet. It's perfect when your numbers are aligning. You don't just make random calculations. So this will be the section for the first tail, first joint, first wing, mid joints, then you have your second wing, and then you have the second joint, the last joint here, and then your second tail. So we'll repeat this. You can attach the bow tie to the bag either using the ends of the yarn or an adhesive. It's whichever is most suitable for you. I prefer tying the ends into the bag and then later on adding an adhesive. My two-step verification method. Make use of your glue to hiding the ends of your strands and then attach the beads carefully to the bow. Using a plier or any metallic substance that is hard enough, you press in the ends of the metallic laps so it wraps perfectly with the bag, opens easily and closes easily.